All right, we're here today with me, Mike, the Cannabis Kid, in Peterborough Hydroponic Centre. Today I'm going to show you how easy it is to do cuttings. We can do seedlings the same manner. I'm not sure where I'm looking, but seedlings and cuttings we kind of prep almost the same way, so I'm going to do them both at the same time. We can do them in my favorite material, Rockwool, which is so easy to do, or for those that want to stick in soil, we'll also talk about Jiffy 7s or peat moss. So for dirt fellas or for Rockwool or hydroponic systems, we would like to stick with Rockwool. Now, there's lots of things we can get into when we talk about cuttings. Of course, it's like raising our little infant children, so it's nice to have them looked after very nicely. I always stress, we look after young chickens in an incubator and make them just perfect, and once they get a little bigger, they run around the farmyard. So a little different kind of conditions. When they're young, we sure want to cater to that environment and make it perfect. I'm going to talk about environment in a few minutes. I'm just going to hit some simple products that a lot of people question whether they need or not. The basic necessities are certainly going to be medium of some sort. So if we're talking Rockwool, I'm likely going to say, either form. This is individually wrapped pieces. So if you're just doing a few, these are often the easiest method to start with. If you're doing them in convenience and right price, I'm going to say the multi-flats are always the best price. Now, I prefer to use some kind of tray that has holes in it. A lattice tray is fine, or a tray, a standard 10-20 tray, this kind of thing, with perforated bottoms would work as well. But something to hold our medium, and so we don't pick it up all the time. If we touch it with our fingers every time, we're going to kind of crush it. It's nice to be able to have it independently. We might use some kind of tray. Now, this is a nice heavy-duty model that, of course, Peterborough Hydroponic Centre does produce. This is also another option that's a standard cord product. So cord products are nice and inexpensive. We could fill this up with water, and we could soak the medium in it. So that's certainly a necessity. We need some form of dome. Of course, it is lost the dome. Lots of heights of domes. We offer many different types. This one's nice and tall. One of the tallest ones we have, with some nice adjustable vent openings on the top. And of course, we've got another heavy model here, same idea. We can cut and open the vents if you like. What we're trying to do is achieve about 85% humidity in the dome area where we're doing cuttings. It doesn't mean that we want a really humid room. In fact, I would much prefer a room that's not very humid, maybe 50% or 60% humidity, and then let's put a dome over top of it, and now we've got maybe 85. If everything is pebbling and it's all wet and it's raining inside, well, it must be 100% humidity. We're not looking for that. We want just close to 100. The idea is we want to make sure that the medium is evaporating, but the plants aren't going to lose their water too quickly. So the best thing about cuttings, we should be able to plant them all. If our environment is the way we want it to be, when I come back and look at them tomorrow, they're going to look the same as they are right now. If they're all stressed out and fallen or look totally different, I'm going to say something's a little off. So first thing is to have the right environment to put our cloning chamber. We're going to set it on some kind of heat mat. This is a fairly large one. That they all require some kind of thermostat, otherwise they're just going to run wide open, and sure, they'll heat things, but the idea of this kind of thing is we want to, like it says right on the mat here, 70 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. And certainly if we peak past 85, we're going to kill them. And if it's below 70, we're certainly not going to have the success that we're looking for. The key is, if you can imagine a pot of water on a wood stove in a cottage and it was evaporating all the time, boy, all you have to do is keep filling that pot up, and it's so easy. You probably never cleaned it all winter. The whole time. But if you took that pot off the wood stove and set it beside the wood stove, somewhere where it's a different environment, it would remain full forever. It would probably be all scummy and look gross the next day. And that's really the difference of the evaporation. If it was nice and warm on a heat mat or on that wood stove, it would surely evaporate like crazy. And then you can put all your efforts to just refilling the pot on a regular basis. And something to think about, as long as it's evaporating terrifically, the idea is don't let it run dry. The pot's going to crack. Your cannabis product is going to dry right up and be gone. So what we have to do is make sure we have terrific evaporation and don't let the medium get completely dry. So if it's evaporating nicely, it doesn't really matter whether we keep filling the pot up fairly quickly or let the pot of water almost empty and then fill it back up again. But the key is this evaporation. So we want that same environment all the time, daytime, nighttime. I prefer to run the lights all the time myself at this stage because a lot of times the lights will influence the atmosphere in the garden, and I don't want to have a period of time where it's different. So lots of different lights. I'll show you a couple different ones that I'm using. This is a Sun Blaster kit with a little nano reflector, one of my favorites. Maybe a couple of these over a propagation dome would be certainly suffice. This is fairly inexpensive product, very portable. We also offer lots of pro lights that are more of multiple lamps in a fixture. So any kind of light, some kind of heat mat, and then some kind of product we're going to put into it. Now, things we can't get around will be probably going to need a measuring cup, likely some kind of scalpel to take the cuttings with. Maybe some kind of measuring cup is always a necessity. A little bit of food. So if we're germinating a seed, we might not worry about putting food in the very first time. We might just use some kind of vitamin type product like Super Thrive. But for cuttings, I'm going to suggest we always use a little bit of food. This kind of thing, if you looked at a DNF food chart, it's going to say about 1.25 milliliters per liter. So if we had a 10-liter bucket of water, I'm going to say, hey, 15 milliliters of nutrient is about appropriate for that. It's quite easily to measure something like that out. We're not going to ever likely measure 1 liter of water. It's too small of an amount to deal with. So if we can make a 10-liter size or a 20-liter size, something you're going to mix up each time, I'd suggest that we get ourselves into a recipe situation. So hey, you just know what you're filling up each time. Maybe mark the cups so we can tell what we're doing. So when we're talking about water, we're going to put certainly some kind of food in, and then we're going to adjust the pH at very minimum. Now, there's lots of other products we can use at this stage, and I would stress that it's kind of like, we want to make sure we have a good plate of dinner in front of us, but there's no problem in taking vitamins and maybe some protein products for us humans. So why don't we talk about some great products we could start with. Voodoo juice is a wonderful additive that's been very popular in the last few years. This is really a living component. So we're going to inoculate the water with a living fungi that will grow and produce an enzyme that will be helpful in breaking down matter and making usable food for the plant and deterring bacteria from growing. So one wonderful product. Now these kind of things are extremely pricey. A little bottle like this, I can probably do cuttings about 10 batches with something like that, and it's probably about $40. So not a real inexpensive product, but certainly, check it out. Internet's a lovely thing. Bigger roots with these kind of things, sure enough. Another couple popular ones that I've used through the years, the Atami line is wonderful because product. Again, you use very little of this type of product, and again, it gives us a much faster, bigger, more aggressive root. I also love using Grodan products. Now, these two kind of ideas are similar. This is a living component that produces an enzyme. So a lot of people will just use the enzyme. Now, this product you have to repetitively put in, as opposed to the Voodoo juice. Maybe we use it a few times at the beginning, and that active component keeps growing and living and growing the whole time we're growing the plant, as opposed to this type of product. We know it's going to work, but we do have to repetitively put it in. It's not a living component. It's something that is going to essentially eat up excess food matter and turn it into a form that the plant can use. So it's something that you'll find gives you immediate results. This type of product is also friendly with hydrogen peroxide. It's certainly another product that is very commonly used. We can simply add peroxide to the water. Peroxide at a 29% format, so it's much stronger once you get the grocery store or the drug store. But this type of product we simply add to water, and it adds an extra oxygen atom to every molecule of water. So the idea is it's kind of like we're tricking it into trying to be like fresh water. We're trying to prevent the oxygen content from dropping in the water. Low oxygen content breeds bacteria. So this is certainly something we can use at any stage of life. Very inexpensive type of concept. It's been around for many, many years. So any of these products are very helpful, especially these cutting stages where, again, we want to be a little more fancy and try to make sure that every time we have good, strong, young cuttings. Young, strong people, I'm sure, will make big, strong people in the end. So we want to make sure we have the same kind of thinking. So we want to put all this kind of thing together in a room that has some kind of airflow. So next I'm going to take it into a room, show you what kind of setup I'm using. Lots of people want to do this kind of thing in a closet or someplace that's, you know, small. Let's put it in a cutting box. I don't really recommend that kind of thing. The issue we have with that is we want to have just a limited environment. If it was in a sealed box, I'm sure you know, we're not going to have the airflow required to keep the humidity level down. So it really does require some kind of room that has airflow, an exhaust fan. Maybe you get away with it in a basement or a big room that is big enough to absorb the humidity, but certainly I'd recommend in some kind of room that has an exhaust fan going. And let's set up a little min-max thermometer to make sure we actually record what those temperatures are. I'll show you what I'm using again, and that way we can have this lovely environment where we can have the same kind of cutting success every single time.